I don't know if you've noticed, but we talk about God a lot in church. We do. We talk about God a lot. And of course we do, because it's church. Where else would you expect to find people talking about God? Actually, the answer to that ought to be everywhere, because God is everywhere, right? Not just in church. Of course, the more important part is not just the talk, it's the do part, isn't it? And which is kind of what we talk about sometimes. We talk about how God can be lived in the world and how God lives in the world, how God is in the world. We talk a lot about different ways that we might describe God. We talk a lot about different ways in which we might understand God. What is God? Who is God? Where is God? Why is God? We ask a lot of questions. I hope. And we sometimes have lots of answers. Of course we do, because we kind of all know God our own way. And while we might all agree on certain basic things, sometimes it's important to remember that knowing God isn't just about knowing God through church and through everybody. It's knowing God through ourselves, for ourselves. You see, I think that's what God is interested in. I think for all the time that we spend talking about God and trying to figure out how to describe God or understand God, I think God is really just inviting us to have a relationship with God, to know God. And God offers some ways that we might know God in our lives, and ways that we might each uniquely and individually be able to connect with God. One of those is the God that's in creation. Right? God is in all things. God is creator. We often call God creator, but also that God is in creation. We use that expression now, thanks to our Indigenous brothers and sisters. We say, all my relations. And it means not just people, it means all of creation, that we are connected, we're related. And that's one of the ways that we might know God, the creator, the life force that is in things. God also, I think, invites us to know God through Jesus. For those of us who are followers of Jesus, we understand Jesus to be the presence of God in the world, in a way that shows us how we too can be the presence of God in the world, because God is in us. And that's what Jesus does. Jesus shows us how God, the divine, is in each and every one of us, and how we can live that into the world, how that good is in us, and we can share it with others. That's another way that we might know God. Another way that we might know God is this thing that we call the Holy Spirit. You know, you can't see it, but it's there. And it's the power of God. It's the power of God at work in the world. It's the thing that inspires us. That's where that word inspire comes from, isn't it? It's got spirit in it. It's the thing that gives us the willingness to do. It's the thing that inspires us to do. It's the energy. We often describe it as like fire or wind, right? We were talking about this last week with Pentecost, that the Spirit comes as fire and wind, tongues of flame. But we also know the Spirit in water, the water of baptism, the water that's in us, the earth that is around us. Because, remember, God is a creator, and in creation, God is also in us, and that's how Jesus showed. These three things are connected, aren't they? They have a relationship. God, Jesus, the Spirit. And you often hear us talk about God that way. It's this thing we call the Trinity, the three things. That's what Trinity means, right? Three things. Three different ways that we can have a relationship with God, that we can know our relationship with God, that we can grow our relationship with God. And for each and every one of us, how we know God in the world, how in creation, how we know God in Jesus, how we know God in the Spirit, can be a very personal thing. It can also be something we share when we gather together, because we are connected, we are related, we we are both the God we know and the Spirit alive and the Jesus in the world today. Because that's how we know God is near and in and between all of us.